Support for NPR health coverage comes from Procter & Gamble, maker of ZzzQuil Pure Z's gummies, designed with melatonin for occasional sleeplessness to help people fall asleep naturally. Learn more at ZzzQuil.com.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Nuala McGovern. On today's NewsHour, questions about Israel's evacuation plan for more than 1 million Palestinian civilians ahead of its planned military operation in Rafah. Plus, the future of fertility treatments in Alabama and India's runaway train. That's BBC NewsHour coming up at 9 on WNYC.
40 with clouds and maybe some sprinkles here and there through midday. Cloudy, then sunny in mid-50s today. Then tomorrow, better chance of rain. Late afternoon, partly sunny and high temperatures in the mid-50s. Even warmer on Wednesday with rain. We'll reach into the low 60s. It'll be gusty as well. 40 with clouds now at 8:51.
Support for WNYC comes from the New York Community Trust. Listeners can champion the causes they care about for generations through charitable gifts in their wills with the New York Community Trust. Learn more at thetrust.nyc.
On the next Brian Lehrer Show, Monday Morning Politics, as we break down the results of the South Carolina Republican primary and preview the one for both parties in Michigan on Tuesday. Also, with a new Nassau County policy banning girls' sports teams from the county's fields if they have any trans athletes, we'll look at the national state of anti-trans politics in this election year. The Brian Lehrer Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on WNYC.
They say all politics is local. So where's the local news coverage this election year? I'm David Brancaccio. I've been traveling to what are called news deserts in Super Tuesday states to hear about the business models that are failing or informing voters as they make their choices on Tuesday. We begin this week's Democracy in the Desert coverage in Val Verde County, Texas, where Mexico is just across the river. Breakfast in one of the 204 counties in America researchers have labeled a news desert. Here at Skillets in the county seat of Del Rio, there are biscuits smothered in chili. And surprise for a local news desert, one diner reading what turns out to be a daily local newspaper. Well, yes and no. He shows me it's Zócalo Acuña, the paper from Acuña, a city nearby but over in another country. Zócalo will cover big news from South Texas for Spanish-speaking readers, but it's not big on covering the local races on the ballot on the Texas side next week. And had I been here on a Friday, there is an online news site that puts a paper edition on the stands one day a week.
My son hooked me up to the internet New York Times, but it's not the same. I want to have something to hold.
Bob Marshall, retired hospital administrator, says he is a big fan of Texas Public Radio out of San Antonio. Still, how do you find out about the local people running for office?
Oh, the woman that cuts my hair. Yeah. She knows everybody and all the gossip, and I know exactly who to vote for by talking to Bibi, the woman who cuts my hair.
Does she fact check her information? That's my only question.
I don't know, but it's been pretty reliable, though.
Val Verde County once had a 7-day-a-week newspaper, the Del Rio News Herald. It folded for good in late 2020. And you need a time machine to understand what's missing now.
We had people covering business. I had people covering what's going on in the economy, who's covering the economic development issues, who's keeping an eye on just what kind of deals is the city council cutting.
Diana Fuentes was editor and publisher of the Del Rio News Herald and left a dozen years ago when its business model was still in fair shape, supported by ads, the paid publication of legal notices, and subscriptions that could pay for extensive local coverage.
There were always issues with the coaches, and are you paying the coach more than you're paying the math teacher? Nowadays, they're not covering that sort of thing anymore.
Fuentes is currently executive director of IRE, the Investigative Reporters and Editors nonprofit.
Who's going to cover the school district in Del Rio?
Well, we've just moved our periodical section to the front of the library to give...
Barbara Galvan is reference librarian at the Val Verde County Library.
We try to keep as many papers as possible, but it's harder and harder to find news locally so far off the beaten path. It is a small town, so we do have a lot of personal interaction with people who are running for local offices. We do get the League of Women Voters handouts for the elections, which is really nice, but they don't cover local politicians. It's only state and federal.
The head of the County Board of Commissioners, Judge Lewis Owens, did try to find investors to save the News-Herald.
We were trying to buy the paper itself and everything that went along with it. They had a magazine, they had the newspaper, the building, everything.
His thing was preserving a way to print all the required legal notices.
I just couldn't put it together. I think the building itself would have been well worth it.
Candidates running in next week's primary have their names on big campaign posters placed at intersections around town. And the library does have a decent internet connection if people want to come in to do their voting research ahead of time. Galvan, the librarian, takes no political sides, but she is on the side of context and fact-checking.
You just need to verify, and through multiple sources because, like I said, it's very important to get the pro-con on any subject.
And remember I said there is a weekly local newspaper here? It's part of a nonpartisan online news site updated throughout the day that rose up when the old newspaper closed. Publisher Joel Langton.
This is not a news desert. That's a crock of crap.
We'll address that tomorrow. Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism has the county-by-county breakdown of news deserts across the country, defined as places with very limited access to credible and comprehensive news that connects them with grassroots democracy and also gives them a sense of belonging to a greater community. Links to all of our Democracy in the Desert coverage this week, accumulating at marketplace.org.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, provider of an all-in-one management platform with a suite of fully integrated applications designed to simplify and connect every aspect of business in one software. More at odoo.com. And by Betterment, the automated investing platform that helps make it easy to be invested for the long term. Learn more at betterment.com. Investing involves risk.
Checking markets, S&P and Dow futures are little changed at the moment. NASDAQ futures up 0.1%. The 10-year interest rates start the week down 4.24%. And I see stock in a Danish firm called Zealand Pharma up 31% this morning after positive results for a liver disease drug that can also treat obesity.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Twilio Segment. Segment brings customer data together for real-time insights so companies know each individual like they are their only customer. Learn more at segment.com. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
AT&T says it's giving a $5 credit to customers most affected by that network outage last Thursday, which left some without mobile service for much of the day. Regulators are investigating. Here's Nova Safo.
The $5 credit amounts to the cost of a full day's service, according to AT&T CEO John Stankey. He announced the compensation plan in a letter to employees. But neither he nor the company have said how many customers will get the automatic credit. The Federal Communications Commission is investigating the outage. The company says it was caused by a mistake made during network expansion. It was not a cyber attack. The outage also affected AT&T's FirstNet service, which is its dedicated network for emergency responders. The company says it prioritized restoring that service. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
It's a $5 credit, not cash back, but if you prudently take $5 from elsewhere and invest it 4.37% for 30 years, it'll be worth $18 in the year 2054. Factoring in inflation, the $5 will be worth $5. David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.